Welcome back to the Vanessa G Fitcast. I'm Vanessa Pozos, and here with me today I have a very special guest. I have on Miss Kat Glover on the podcast. Kat is actually a past client of our coaching program. She actually was working one-on-one with our very own Coach Kat. Both of the cats were paired together there, and they did some really incredible work over the year and a half that she worked with us. She actually Kat graduated from our Forever Fit program last May of 2023. And this is why I'm especially excited to pick her brain today, is because not only did she get incredible results within our program, the work that she put in really transferred over into amazing physical progress, as well as, the real star of the show was the mental growth and the improvements in her relationship with food and exercise and all of the amazing growth that she had there. But not only did she have that just incredible results that I can't wait to pick her brain on, but she has done an incredible job of maintaining her results on her own since she stopped working with us last May. So, Kat, I am super excited to have you on the show, excited to pick your brain, get some inspiration for our listeners out there. But welcome to the podcast.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. I'm excited to share a little bit about my experiences and hopefully help someone out there that's listening today.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's take it back to the beginning. So, when you first came to us at the beginning of 2022, you were in a place where, you were not a stranger to being active. You were
Mm.
very athletic, you were in a lot of different sports, and I'll let you kind of share your own story there, but I remember that when you came to us, you were just at a place where you felt really frustrated. You had such a great foundational knowledge of nutrition from your own degree, and yet you were not getting the results that you wanted. So take me back to that place. Take me back to Kat before she started coaching with us. What was going on? Where were you? Were you struggling with? Kind of paint the picture for us there.
Yeah, so before I reached out to you guys, I had just recently completed a half Ironman triathlon and before that, a marathon. So it was one of the more active years of my life. But I remember it was a certain photo that I saw of myself that really just made me decide to reach out. I kind of saw it and was like, there's no way that that's like what I look like right now. And so I just felt really frustrated that I was, very, very active, but yet my body was nowhere where I wanted it to be. And I kind of, as you had alluded to, I did study nutrition in college. So in theory, I had a lot of the fundamentals down about what nutrition should look like. But those things weren't translating to my own life. And so I think I just realized I need someone to help me and I need someone to personalize it for me. Because I think when I tried to take it into my own hands, it was just really overwhelming. There was so much out there and I didn't know where to start. And so what I knew I needed was a personalized plan that was specific to me and not just one size fits all, because I had tried those things and they weren't working.
Yeah, I know you had tried some different things on your own in the past. Obviously, you had some knowledge. You even just being active, running marathons, that is no small feat. I have no
Mm.
interest in running a marathon because I think it is incredibly difficult and sounds absolutely miserable. So I admire you through and through that you have been able to do that. But that those types of things, like you were pushing yourself, you were working hard, you were doing so many things, quote unquote, right, but you were still stuck. You were still finding yourself unhappy looking into photos. And you knew that, what, I'm going to need some help. I'm going to need to, get some assistance if I want to get there where I want to go. Um, Talk to me about, okay, once you came into the program, we paired you with Coach Kat. What was it like as you got started working on things? What was the journey initially looking like for you?
Yeah, I'll say at first it definitely took a lot of trust, because it was so different than what I had thought would be effective, right? I think, the reverse diet, when you look at it, just seems to make no sense. It's like, how could I possibly get to my body goals by eating more and working out less? It seems so counterintuitive. But it was one of those things where I was like, okay, I'm going to trust the process. There's countless women that have gone through your program and seen the results they were looking for. And so it just was an act of trust and an act of faith of deciding, okay, I'm going to buy in fully. And, the other things haven't worked before. So hopefully this is something different. And I would say it was something that I really just had to believe in the process, and just have more of a long-term mindset. I think so often when it comes to wanting to change your body, we want to do those things quickly, and those are the things that actually aren't going to be sustainable. And so I really just decided, okay, I'm going to have a long-term mindset here, and hopefully if I do this right, it will produce lasting change and I won't have to do this again. And 2 years later, here I am, and I would say that's exactly where I am. That long-term mindset was so worth it, because now I'm able to maintain the progress on my own, and feel fully confident to do so. And it doesn't feel burdensome now. It's just my lifestyle to maintain my progress. I don't feel anxiety when I'm out of my routine in ways that I used to. It's just kind of like, this is my life now, and this is how I eat, and this is how I exercise, and I just have such a transformed relationship with food and nutrition, and exercise as well. And I wouldn't be here without you all. So I would say that is the most lasting change that I've had.
Oh, well, it's music to my ears to hear you say that because I know that you, like many other women who come to us, you really do have to just put some blind faith, blind trust into the process. Of course, like you alluded to there, as you first came in, it was pretty clear that, hey, this is going to be a longer term journey if we want this to be a sustainable approach. There is some underlying metabolic damage here from a lot of the stress we put our body under from years of dieting and under eating on top of really pushing our body to the max. You were a competitive swimmer growing up, you were running marathons, you did a half Ironman, like you have done some incredible feats. And that doesn't come without a little bit of a toll on our bodies, and your metabolism had adapted. So I know during the first few months that you started working with us, like we took you through our flexible reverse dieting system. We increased your calories by, I believe, nearly 400 more per day just in those first few months. You were starting to introduce foods that were like previously off limits to you, things that you didn't really typically allow yourself to eat prior to coming into the program. You started doing less cardio and you actually were only doing resistance training 3 days a week. And we were focusing on sleep, stress management. Like these are the things that don't necessarily always sound sexy to people and aren't always really exciting to hear when you first come in of like, hey, we're going to actually have you eat more food. You're going to do less exercise and just trust us. It's going to get you there. How did you kind of overcome maybe any like mindset blocks around the process or feeling like, did you at all ever find yourself at a place where you're like, I don't know if this is going to work for me. I don't, you know, like where were maybe your hesitations around the process?
Yeah, I mean, kind of what you said, just that at face value, it just doesn't seem that that equation is going to result in the change that I was looking for. But I think ultimately it was just an act of, okay, I have to trust the process here. It's worked for so many other women, and what I've done before hasn't worked in the past. So I might as well try it out. Thankfully, it's my personality is that I can just trust people pretty easily. And so I just was, easy. It was easy for me to trust Coach Kat. And I think I just, even though early on I wasn't seeing my body change, I was feeling different. And so that was
Mm,
enough to sustain me. Was that, I wasn't dropping pounds yet, and I wasn't seeing, my waist come in necessarily, but I was feeling different. And I was just noticing my mindset start to shift. And for me, that was enough to keep me going. And so I was able just to take that as evidence that something was shifting, and just believe again, like if I put in the work now, then hopefully in a year or in 2 years that I would see the difference. And here I am to say that I have, and I am living in that now.
100%. Yeah. I mean, you came to us with a weight loss goal and you have achieved that goal. You are down 25 pounds from the time that you initially started with us at the beginning of 2022. And like you mentioned, you are maintaining it seamlessly now. It's just a lifestyle for you. I I love this story and I love that you are sharing of like, listen up, ladies. She did not see weight loss in those initial few months. And a lot of people would get really discouraged by that. They might give up on themselves. They might say, you know what, I need to jump to the next thing and find something that's going to work faster. And that's the mindset that can ultimately keep us stuck and keep us really trapped in that cycle of just on the diet, off the diet, like trying something, giving up, starting something new. But when you commit to the long term process and you really zoom out, you can end up where Kat is today, where she is, sounds like, just really happy with, the progress that she's made and her ability to maintain it and the lifestyle that she's living around it. I mean, Kat, I have to emphasize, I am so freaking proud of you for just, still remember those very early days when we first had that call and just really talk through the long term journey. And you did put your trust into us that we were going to get you there. And now here you are, and you can look back and, really see that girl who did put her blind trust in it and really see that, hey, like I did this, I did the work, I was patient, I trusted the process, I showed up, and here I am. But I also know that that didn't come without its ups and downs battles. Especially I imagine as you moved into Forever Fit and, started to really zoom out into the longer term journey, what were maybe some of like the obstacles that you came up against throughout the process of coaching, and how did you overcome those obstacles?
Yeah, so I would say very early on, one of the obstacles was cutting out cardio. For me, that was always just a part of my DNA. As you had mentioned, I grew up a competitive swimmer, and then I've done a lot of just long distance races throughout my life. And I'm actually currently training for another half Ironman.
Ooh,
So I think that's also just proof that, if you do enjoy cardio, it doesn't have to mean you say no to cardio forever.
yes.
It was something that I enjoyed, but I had a tainted relationship with it because
Mm.
it was something that wasn't getting me where I wanted to be with my body. And so it was something that I decided to put on pause for a while and to strength train. And I really fell in love with strength training. It's something that I always wanted to learn how to do, but I just didn't know. I needed someone to help me, like teach me how to lift weights. And so through the program, I was able to do that. And now, as I'm training for this race again, I'm maintaining my strength. So I've cut back to 2 days a week of strength and integrated the cardio throughout. But that's just proof that, if you're a runner and you enjoy running and it feels scary to put running on pause for a while, just encourage you that it doesn't have to mean no forever. But saying yes to the process and saying yes to coaching is something that I think you is so invaluable. And if you would just trust your coach and trust the process, you can get to a point where you can introduce those things again. And there's even opportunities to integrate them throughout, with your coach here and now. But so that was something for me where I decided for a season of life, I was just going to put cardio on hold. And that was actually so healing for my relationship with cardio as well, because while it was something I enjoyed, it was also something I was starting to get frustrated with because
Mm,
it wasn't, again, like producing the results that I desired. And so now when I do cardio, it's just something that I'm able to do because I want to and because I enjoy, and not because I feel like I have to. Whereas before, it almost just felt like an obligation. It felt like something I had to do. If I had a big meal the night before, like, oh, I have to go on a long run tomorrow. Whereas now it's like, man, I get to go on a new run. I get to go on a run. And, I'm in this new city that I love. Like, I love to go on a run to explore the new city. And so that's something that has been really cool for me, but that was a hurdle at first. And then I would say as the program went on, I was in the maintenance phase for quite a bit. And so there were definitely times where I would get a little impatient and was like, man, like I'm ready to move on to the fat loss phase, right? But again, just that patience and the long-term mindset of um, like it's going to be worth it in the end. And I think I was seeing results in other ways. So I was really seeing my strength increase, and just being able to lift heavier weights, feeling more confident in the gym, feeling better, just watching my mindset shift when I would go to social events and just how I was able to think about food in those situations. I think for me, a big mental win was like losing the all or nothing mindset. So I think that was something I really had in the beginning was, if I would eat a cookie, then I would just like eat four because it was like, well, I messed up. Like I ate the cookie. Now it's like, it's a lost cause. But um, some of my friends comment today being like, how can you just eat one Oreo? Like, I don't understand. But it's because like nothing is off limits to me anymore. And so I could just eat my one or two Oreos and feel satisfied and know like, okay, I could eat that tomorrow again if I want. It's not just a like man, I never eat Oreos, so I have to eat five right now. Or, when I was traveling last week, having a dish that I really like. And I'm like, well, I don't really get this in America. In the past, old me would have been like, well, I have to get a double portion because like I can't have that in America. And now it's like, well, I probably could. Like I could find it somewhere if I really want it. But instead, I'm just like, I'm full. So I'm going to just be grateful that I had that meal and I enjoyed it. And so I think I was just, while there were certainly roadblocks and hesitations throughout the process, I think there were small victories that were not just body composition differences that were able to sustain me and give me hope that the journey was worth it. And so while I did lose 25 pounds, and that obviously was a huge goal of mine, I think there's so many other things that I gained that were probably more valuable. And I know that that sounds cheap if you're listening. Like I used to feel like, man, that's like, of course you're going to say that. But really, I think the mindset has been the biggest victory for me. And that's why I know I will be able to sustain this progress forever because I have the tools that I need to really see this as just like, this is who I am. This is how I see food and exercise. It's not just like a quick fix. And so hopefully that encourages you guys out there that are listening that maybe find yourself somewhere in the process where you're just starting or you're in the process of just being in maintenance for a while. But the body composition things will come, but also just like don't discount the other victories that you're experiencing. That is what is like gonna help sustain you in the long term.
So well said. And there's a few things that you said there that I want to really point out for our listeners as well. So in the beginning there, you were talking about how your relationship with exercise evolved. And before starting coaching, you had almost more of like a negative, more unhealthy relationship with cardio, which is something that you do love deep down, something that's been a huge part of your life for your whole life. And yet you were finding yourself in this place where it became something like a chore, or something you had to do. And so it sounds like during the process of coaching, you were working on making some mindset shifts, which started with a lot of awareness of noticing, how am I thinking about my exercise? Like, am I thinking like I have to go for this run because, I have to burn off the food that I ate? Am I thinking like, oh, this is something I need to do? Or am I saying like, this is something I choose to do? This is something I get to do? Because that slight little wording shift can go a long way in producing a different feeling towards the exercise itself, which is going to change how it actually feels to take the action of doing the exercise. So I really want to draw that one out for a lot of women, either, whether you're on the end of the spectrum where maybe it's something that you struggle to exercise at all, you may just want to bring some awareness to how you talk about exercise. And is it something that you say like something I have to do? It feels like this like negative thing. It feels like a chore. Or can you start to maybe produce some thoughts that do feel true to you? It doesn't have to be like, oh, I love to do cardio if you don't actually feel that way, but maybe it can bring some awareness to like, man, I'm really grateful that I have legs strong enough to run with. Or I am so grateful that I, have a healthy heart that can allow me to do cardio, and like start to bring some gratitude around these types of activities. And then that can later evolve into more of the mindset that Kat has now, where it's something that she's excited about, something that she gets to do. And that, fuels her to take on these missions. Like, the I still cannot believe you're doing another Ironman, because that's just like, I would imagine that would be like a one and done thing, where I would imagine if I did that, I would be like, I'm never doing this again. But you can be like Kat, where you can think, wow, this is amazing. This is so fun. And I want to train for more of these. So really, really appreciate that kind of insight there, Kat. Another,
Yeah.
go ahead.
I was just gonna say, on the Ironman piece, I think it's so cool this time around too. Now I just feel so much stronger training for it because of the strength training, because I'm
Mm,
keeping up with that. Like I feel like I'm in the best shape of my life. And it's kind of crazy to say that because I work out a lot less than I used to. But I think just because I have such a good eating regimen and I'm incorporating that strength training, I feel so strong in a way that I haven't before. So strength training works. And you don't have
absolutely.
to say no to cardio forever if you don't want to, but you
Yeah.
can. If you don't like it, then there are other
Yeah.
things out there.
Yeah.
Exercise doesn't have to be, um, you know, miserable. Like there are ways to enjoy movement.
100%. And that's always our goal for everybody is, incorporate a form of exercise that's effective, but also find the type of exercise that you can actually maintain for the rest of your life because you enjoy it. And that's so important. So that's a really beautiful insight there as well. Another thing I wanted to hit on there, Kat, you had talked about you found yourself discouraged at certain points because there were times where you were having to eat at your maintenance calories for extended periods of time. And as we're eating at maintenance calories, it's not always as fun. It's not always as sexy as like when things are changing a lot. Either we're eating more food or we're eating less food, and we're like either like it feels a little bit more for some people can feel more stagnant as we're like, I just want to get to the part where I'm actually like actively losing weight, right? And that's where a lot of women I can see can get stuck, where they can give up on themselves. Maybe they just get a little bit impatient. And it's so important to do what you mentioned that you were doing, which is focusing on the non-scale victories, focusing on how are things improving, really measuring the gain between like where you started and where you are now in every way, shape, and form of like, how has my energy changed? How has my strength improved? Am I, maybe I'm gaining more muscle mass? Like my relationship with food is changing. I'm eating foods I didn't used to eat. Like really, truly highlighting and just celebrating the gains that you are making and trying your best to not measure the gap between where you are and where you still want to be, because that's where we can get discouraged. That's where we can feel like, man, I still have so far to go. And we can really find ourselves getting stuck. What are your thoughts on that, Kat?
Yeah, I would agree 100%. I think it's just I think my biggest advice to people out there would just be like patience is the name of the game. And if you're willing to buy into the long-term process, you will see results you want, and you'll gain so much in the process. And so, yeah, I think again, I had said, when I was going through the program, it felt like those non-scale victories felt kind of cheap sometimes. Like it was just like, okay, why are you asking me for this, Cat? Like I want to be losing weight. But those are the things that I'm most thankful for. Like, of course, I'm thankful to have like dropped the weight and feel confident in my body now. But those are the things that really are allowing me to maintain my progress. And so don't despise like small victories. Don't despise the non-scale victories. Those things are so valuable, even when they're not your end goal.
I love it. I love your mindset, and it's obviously so much easier when we can reflect on those things than when we're in it. So, for those of you who are in it right now, I know it's hard. I know it's hard to like focus on the non-scale victories, but really take Kat's advice here and really focus on those things. It can make the biggest difference for you in the long run. Um, the third thing I want to hit on that you had mentioned there briefly was you had said, now I can have this food anytime. In the past, you would have had these thoughts like, oh, I'm allowing myself to indulge in an Oreo or in, pasta in Italy or, whatever it is. It's like it feels like this grand indulgence, which we start to have this scarcity mindset around it where we then inherently start to overeat because it feels like, well, okay, I'm going to allow myself to have this right now, but I'm not allowed to have it anymore tomorrow. I'm not going to have it again for a very long time. Like, then we get that Last Supper mentality and we overeat, right? You said that beautiful line of, I can have this food anytime. And that's such a great example of a easy mindset shift we can make where as we start to, especially as we're getting new into this process of discovering more food freedom and really healing our relationship with food, is truly honoring and believing that thought because it is true. Actually allowing yourself to have these things anytime. If Oreos is your weakness, then hey, have an Oreo every single day until it no longer feels special anymore. Like you might overeat the Oreos a few days as you're getting into that and you're like building that trust within yourself, but it's okay. Like you can kind of take the like, we call it one step back in order to take those, three steps forward as we heal our relationship with food. And, Kat, one thing I even wanted to ask you about a little bit, I know at one point during the program, you made a really big, huge change in your life as you moved to New York City and living in a brand new city, living in, one of the greatest cities in the world, especially when it comes to food and being able to explore different opportunities and everything. How did, having this improved relationship with food affect, moving to New York and, maybe vice versa of like, what were the challenges that came up and how did you navigate that?
Yeah, great question. I would say I'm just like so grateful I started the program when I did, because as you had mentioned, there's such a culture around food and like getting drinks in New York, anywhere, but especially in New York. And coming here and wanting to make new friends, that was something I wanted to be able to say yes to. And so when I moved here, I was actually at the end of my maintenance phase, about to go into the fat loss phase. So at the beginning, I was a little bit more stringent about like not saying yes to all these opportunities, eating at home a bit more. But um, now, having done, completed my fat loss phase and just living my everyday life now, it's something I'm so grateful for the timing, just because now I'm able to go out to dinner and not feel anxiety about what to eat. And I know exactly what to order because of almost a year and a half of tracking. Like I can look at a menu and know what is one going to feel like a nourishing meal to me, but two, also what are the macros approximately. And that's something that I think is so beneficial to tracking. I was a bit hesitant at first to tracking. But now, like I said, I could just look at a menu and know what are good options for me. And that has been so valuable to me, because now I feel full confidence eating out. And I eat out like quite a bit in New York. It's just what you do here. And so, but I'm still able to maintain my progress, right? And so, again, I would just say that saying yes to these long-term health goals doesn't mean saying no to social activities forever. Of course, there's going to be a give and take, and there might be a season where you have to eat in more. And for me, that was like for a 6 months, 6 to 8 months. But here I am now, and I'm like able to live my life. And um, if anything, like I think I used to work out more and eat out less than I do now. So I am able to really kind of live my life here and do the things I want, while also just maintaining a good relationship with food and exercise. And so for that, I'm so grateful. I will say another thing that I learned through working with Coach Kat is just the importance of walking every day. That was something I really downplayed before. And living in a city like New York, you walk a lot. So it's pretty convenient in that way. But I've always been someone that enjoyed walking, and I think through the program I realized how just beneficial it is to go on an everyday walk and just to get like movement in. And so it's now part of my normal routine to go on a walk during the workday. To if I wake up and I usually work out in the morning, but if I don't, then I'll go for a walk before I get started working, just because for me that is one, it just helps my mental um, just outlook on my day and sitting at a desk all day, but also it's just proved to be so effective in helping me maintain my progress.
100%. I'm glad that you slipped that in there because that's another really great piece of advice for everybody. And it's such a simple thing that truly anybody can do. No matter how busy you are, no matter your schedule, like we can make some space for a little bit of gentle movement via walking. It's something we can do multitasking. Like it's a very, very powerful activity. Um, and I just also want to emphasize something that you really had said there, essentially, where you were talking about making this move to New York, and you did it during a time where you were about to shift into a phase where we do have to maybe be a little bit more restrained. We may have to have a little bit more, being a little bit more dialed in. Of course, we still incorporate a lot of food freedom, and with your metabolism being in a better spot, you can eat way more food, you can exercise less. But that all being said, there still has to be some certain level of restraint when we're talking about really focusing on seeing fat loss happen. And so you're doing this, huge move to a big city with lots of food opportunities, being around, new friends. Like that can be very, very challenging. And for a lot of people, they may find themselves using that as an excuse to give up on themselves, to say, now's not the right time. Now is probably a terrible time for me to try and work on these things as I'm moving. Like maybe I should put this on pause. Maybe I should just not even get started right now. Like we can really talk ourselves out of things. But what you said there, Kat, was that you were so glad that the timing worked out the way it did because of everything you learned through that process and how that's allowed you to maintain your results with such ease, living your life how you want to live it. And so I really want to emphasize that of when we are looking at making any change in our life, whether it's for weight loss or for anything else, we want to do it during the hard conditions. We want to do it when life is harder because that guarantees that you'll be able to maintain it the way Kat has.
Yeah, there's never going to be a perfect time, right? Like there's always going to be a life event that comes up or something that, you want to be fully a part of. But I think just taking the plunge and believing that, okay, regardless of what comes up, this is like worthwhile and I'm going to trust the process. It's would be my biggest encouragement to anyone out there. There's no time like now. And I know it might seem daunting to be like, okay, if I say yes today, I'm not going to see the results for a year. But that year will come and go like way quicker than you would think. And here I am, like almost 9 months of working, of just maintaining progress on my own, not working with a coach anymore. And it's like, wow, how has it been 9 months? And I'm still exactly where I thought it would be. And of course, there was some fear transitioning into that. But, because of 18 months of working with you all, it was just like, it was so solidified and just becoming my everyday activities that I've been able just to maintain that progress. So, yeah, just say there's no time like the now.
I love it. Awesome. Well, before we wrap it up here, Kat, I just want to, leave the space for, was there anything that we didn't get to talk about that you feel like would be valuable for our listeners? Or is there anything that you just specifically want them to take away from this episode?
I would say just be kind to yourself and if you find yourself in a season where you're not where you want to be, it just starts with like a simple like asking for help and just acknowledging like I'm not where I want to be and what I've done isn't working. So maybe let me try something different. And just trust the process and be patient. And the results will come. So I was once in your shoes and I know it feels like overwhelming, but it is possible, change is possible. And if you are willing to put in the hard work mentally, I would say that's like the biggest requirement is just a willing attitude to change. And then you will see the results. And you could be on the podcast a year from now, like saying the same things that I'm saying. So yeah, you are worth changing your lifestyle if that's something you desire in the season. And it starts with like small action steps. It's not like a radical overnight transition.
Absolutely. So well said. And Kat, this entire podcast has been just, I know it's going to be incredibly helpful for so many women out there. And you are going to inspire a lot of women to be able to take that next step and really start their journey, as well as the women who maybe feel stuck in their journey. You're going to help them get to the other side. So thank you so much for sharing your story, sharing your insight, and sharing it all so beautifully. And for all of our listeners, thank you so much for listening. And please, I want you to support Kat here by sharing this episode with a friend because her story deserves to be shared with other people. It is on us as women to inspire the next woman. So really share this with a friend, share this on your Instagram story, get the word out there. Kat, is there somewhere that, maybe somebody could connect with you if they have a question or if they just, want to kind of follow your journey or anything like that?
Yeah, you could connect with me on Instagram. I would be happy to answer any questions you might have or hopefully just give you an encouragement if you find yourself in one of those like valleys where you feel frustrated by the process. I'll try to do my best to tell you to keep going.
Awesome. Well, we'll make sure that we get your Instagram handle into the show notes for anybody who wants to, connect with you and really gain some more inspiration from you. But again, Kat, thank you so much for your time here. Thank you for sharing. And thank you, everybody, for listening. We'll be back next week with another great episode.